I've been a organic gardener for quite a few years, and I've learned an awful lot from going on YouTube and seeing what all of you out there are doing. I thought it would be good for me to start to do the same and return the favor. I'm going to plant some watermelon seeds today. This is the first time I've really grown watermelon. I live in Sydney, Australia, and I've grown all sorts of other things, but this is the first time I've grown watermelon. There's a company called The Lost Seed. They had a great selection of different kinds of rock melons and honeydews and watermelons, and some that are smaller. So I thought I'd try a range of these. Typically what I've done in the past is I've used old plastic apple container holders or plastic cups and just used things that are about the place that were free, recycled them to grow my seedlings. And a while back I broke down, and I think it was about $14 for 75 of these. I bought some of these, it's not focusing very well. I bought some of these little seedling tubes, and they're wonderful because the roots come down through the bottom, and then you keep them in this little container, and the roots just very gently circle around, and as soon as you pick up the seed punnet to plant it, you just can gently shake them down straight, and the whole plant just falls right out of this. And I'll show you a couple examples in a minute of some zucchini and cucumbers and such that I've recently transplanted. Typically they like to be seeded in situ, particularly cucumbers. But I've had quite good luck using this system here because it doesn't seem to create a lot of disruption to the root system when I plant them. So when I first started gardening, of course, I tried to just use plain soil and found out pretty quickly that that doesn't work. I mix up my own seedling mix. I can't seem to use anything as is. I always have to add all sorts of interesting bits and pieces to it. So this is what it looks like. It's a little difficult to see in this light, but it's very fine. And so what I do is I use the seed sowing mix, and then I add to it, I love this Monash rock dust. You can order it online. You can get 2 kilo or 10 kilo bags. So I always put a few generous handfuls of that in. And once the plants are up and running, I like this, let me move these out of the way. I like this rocket fuel by Nutrog. It's part of my understanding is that some of the purchase price actually goes to the school growing programs, and it's just a great all-purpose. It's not quite as strong smelling as some of the pelleted chook manure. And it's organic, so once the plants are up and running, I use this. In the interim, though, while I'm just getting them up and running, when they've been seeded and I'm just waiting for them to sprout, I tend to use the Seamungus, which is also by Nutrog, and sometimes I'll add a little bit of a light dusting of blood and bone with a little bit of potash added to make it a complete fertilizer. So I use all organic products, or close to organic. And also I used to pay a fortune in little bags of perlite, and then I discovered on eBay a company that sells 100-liter bags of perlite. So this will last me for quite a long time. I add a bit of perlite in to lighten the soil a little, and I usually put a bit of compost in there. And what else? Oh, and then, as you kind of hard to see with all the things I have here, as you can see, these are actually some peas that this is my third sowing of peas for the spring that I've just recently planted. But what I do is I put vermiculite on top, and it's so light and wonderful, and it just keeps everything moist. One thing I wanted to mention too, this doesn't work for kale and blueberries. There's a few plants that it doesn't work for, but most of the plants this will work for. This is, let me see if I can get this to focus a little better. This is by a company called it's called Myco Apply. I think the company is MAI or MIA. Anyway, it's a mycorrhizal fungi inoculant. And I'll do a video later on my citrus trees. I've always grown my citrus trees in the ground, but I'm going to be moving at the end of the year. And so I've got some citrus that I've been growing in grow bags. And I used this Myco Apply. I originally got it for those, and they're doing wonderfully, so I'll have to show you how that's all going with the mycorrhizal fungi. But I also use it on most of my seedlings, and I've noticed a big difference. So this fungi helps, if you're not familiar with it, helps the it attaches to the root of the seeds and the plant, of seedlings and the plants, and helps them to maximize the amount of nutrients that they pull from the soil. In a good soil that hasn't really been tilled very much, these often appear naturally, but because I've been growing a lot in containers, I find it's helpful just to add a little bit of this inoculant and encourage that fungi. So in a little while I'm going to plant some of these, and then in another week or two I'll do a video on how they're going. And since this is the first time I've grown them and grown watermelon and rockmelon and such in Sydney, I'll do some updates on how it's going. I'll just show you a couple of weeks ago I planted seedlings for zucchini and cucumber. They need it warm, but not quite as warm as the watermelon and rockmelon and such. So I've planted some of these in containers. And you can see that even the cucumber, which often will sort of curl up and get very cross when you transplant it, it seems to be doing quite well. It's the smaller one at the top of the screen. And then I've put some in the ground too, of course, but I've also put some in a grow bag. I do a lot of growing in grow bags, including my potatoes. I'll do a video on that too. But this is probably about an 80-liter grow bag or so. And as an experiment, I've got a small pumpkin, some zucchini, and some cucumber too. And again, these were all grown in those little seedling tubes. So I've chosen smaller varieties in the hopes that they'll be able to cope okay with being in a container. And maybe I might even have one of my, might have a zucchini or something left where the roots are going through the bottom, and I can show you. This is my little greenhouse that I grow tomato plants and capsicum and such in. I get them started in here and then plant them out. Yeah, here you can see it. So let me see if I can get that to focus. It's a little close, but you can see that the roots just come right out through that bottom. There we go. You see how the roots just come right out through there, and they're just very loosely spiraled. And so it's very easy to just gently straighten those out and then tip that. What was this? This is a pumpkin, sugar pie. But yeah, it's very easy to plant these out without very much disruption at all to the root system. Yeah, these are at the point now where I'll apply some mycorrhizal fungi as well to help them out. So I'm hoping I'll have a similar experience with the watermelon. You see, I've got more tomatoes than I know what to do with. I'll do a video on that one too at some point, just showing the process. I like to grow my tomatoes as much as possible from seed, mainly because they're just so darn easy to grow. Not to mention the variety that you can get. So anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing. I will, as I said, I'll videotape when I'm at that point where I'm about to plant out the watermelon, and I'll do a couple more videos after that, whether it works or not, just to show you what sort of luck I had trying to grow some of these smaller watermelons in containers. So I look forward to doing a few more videos soon.